Hey everyone. So to start my personal testimony video, I kind of mentioned it in the week one um, post, but I grew up in a broken home. My real parents split when I was two. My birth dad was super abusive, emotionally and physically, and so they split when I was two, and my mom was pregnant with my sister, and um, she eventually remarried when I was 5 or 4, excuse me. Um, and this man was super emotionally abusive to me and my sister. Um, and that lasted about a year. They split up. My mom found another boyfriend. We moved in with him, and he was even worse than the other two. Um, so much to the point that my grandparents actually drove down to where we were living and took us out and brought us to where they live. I grew up with my grandparents living in their house, and my mom and my dad now met and started dating. They got married when I was 12. And actually, shortly after the marriage, he stepped up and he adopted my sister and I, which I thought, that meant the absolute world that he was willing to step up and make the decision like that. Um, well, uh, I was 15, 16. I was at a youth retreat, um, and I had just gotten prayer for dealing with. I dealt with a lot of abandonment issues because of, namely, my birth dad. He had nothing to do with us after the split, um, and I just got done getting prayer for that, and I just, felt God really, really speak to me, and I ended up calling over one of the pastors at the retreat, and he prayed with me, and I gave my life to Christ that day. And then that same night, I actually got the call to ministry as well. Um, and then I was really excited, on fire for that. And then about the time I graduated high school, um, or just before graduation, I guess, my birth dad moved back to town, and that kind of stirred up a hornet's nest, and uh, I kind of lost the excitement, and I kind of went off and did my own thing after graduation. I actually ended up in a relationship that I shouldn't have been in. We ended up getting married. Um, I had three absolute miracles because of that relationship. I have three wonderful kids that I wouldn't trade the world for. But um, my wife was she was also very emotionally abusive, um, and I stuck around, wanting it to work out more than anything, and um, it got so bad to the point that I actually had a suicide attempt. And by the grace of God, I made it through that. Um, However, my wife left me with a boyfriend that she had met. She actually had multiple affairs, um, and I'm still kind of dealing with the aftermath of that. But um, immediately after that situation happened, I ended up in the hospital because of the suicide attempt. And I found out the day I was supposed to get out of the hospital that my wife was leaving me for this boyfriend. Um, and I was super upset, obviously, for good reason, for the following couple of days. But um, then I just felt God really speaking to me. He just gave me a single word. It was the name Job. Um, and in Job's story in the Bible, he had everything taken from him: his kids, his livelihood, his wealth, everything. And the very first thing he did, in spite of everything, was praise God. So I realized at that point I had a choice. I could continue to be angry, to be upset, or I could praise God. Um, and that was one of the best decisions of my life. That's when everything started falling into place, and it's just been a huge blessing since then. And um, I may only be 24 years old, but unfortunately, I've gone through I've gone through a lot. Um, kind of backtracking a little bit, my oldest child, my daughter, was born super premature at 25 weeks. So that was a lot to go through, and the biggest thing with sharing all this is, I think it'll only help my ministry in the fact that, not only can I give biblical advice on how to deal with certain adversities, certain situations, but I can also connect to the people. I've lived it. Um, it sucks, but there's always a light at the end of the tunnel if you just focus and trust God, and completely give your life to Him. Because, um, truly, if it wasn't for God, I'd be dead right now. There's no other way to spin that. Um, so I am so thankful, for His mercy, for His grace, for His love, and, I'm beyond excited to see, where He takes me from here, where He takes, my family from here. Um, so I'm very excited to see what He has in store.